What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another HR Heretics segment. Today, we're going to talk about context switching. So, Kelly, this is one of those hard lessons I've had to learn. And I think context switching as you grow in your career, especially if you become a manager or an exec, becomes one of those essential skills that you have to develop. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about this of how do you think about context switching in your day? How do you think about context switching with your different hats, such as chief people officer hat to manager to friend? How do you think about all these different modes and roles that you have to play?
Yeah, I've talked a lot about this with folks actually, because it's I feel like for 25 years, I've had 10 meetings a day that are ding, 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 ding. And, they're randomized. You can't control when you're talking to, again, I'll have a one-on-one with an ICSDR and then go into a C team meeting and then go into an all hands meeting and then go into an HR team meeting. It's a lot. And there are nuances with how, you frame things for those different audiences, altitude at which you talk about things you can or can't talk about, things you want to take advantage of and position things or influence. And there's chronologies to that. And so it is a very instinctual art form that I actually spend a lot of time with my leaders now and people that I coach talking about it, because it can be very powerful if used well, but it can be very confusing and just all over the map. And you don't know up from down, if not. That makes sense.
Yeah. There's a lot of nuance. So I'll start with the context switching between different roles. And I think in the chief people officer role, it's really tough because you associate with your peers as execs. You associate with your boss, who is the CEO. You associate with your team, who directly reports into you. Then you associate with the entire broader company, typically in the role of CPO. And so, the other thing too is just building authentic relationships. Say you're out of work and trying to just build relationships with folks. I think that's actually one of the areas where you have to be most comfortable or most thoughtful about how you interact. So one of the things that I did that I think worked really well is I always had my guard very low. I didn't want to be one of those really buttoned ups, I speak like a robot type of person when I interact with folks.
Yeah, right.
But what you'll find is especially in settings where people get comfortable with you, is they will start to ask you probing questions, and you need to be very careful about how you respond. And so one of the tactics that I used is when somebody would ask me a probing question about something that maybe I shouldn't get into, I would literally in real time say, okay, I now have to put my chief people officer hat on and be very clear with you that this is an area I can't get into. Mm-hmm. And so I think the context switching as you grow in your career, even if you're just a manager, you may be privy to information that your direct team either shouldn't know or can't know. And how you interact with those people, you need to be very careful and do so in a way to where you're still authentic and still a real person, but you can't cross the line of getting into these difficult conversations, which could compromise your ability to get things done.
Totally. I mean, you are constantly making sure that you're aware of, again, the audience, their frame of reference, how they're seeing things, what they know, what they're experiencing, how they see you, what kind of relationship you're trying to have with folks. And I've found that, just being honest and authentic like that, and most importantly, consistent, is really important, because you're the CPO of a 1,000-person company. This happens 20 times, let's say in a quarter, those 20 people are going to tell, 10 people each. I mean, your reputation gets out there really quickly. And I've seen and heard of a lot of HR leaders that are just bad behavior, inconsistent, kind of in the gossip mill, just powers for bad type of thing. It's not a good look. And that ability to context switch quickly while being honest and being consistent is just necessary.
You have to learn the skill. Now, the other one I want to talk about with context switching is getting your work done. And this is, again, one of those skills that you have to develop as you scale into your career. But, one of the things, it turns out that even if you're an executive, like, you still have IC work to be done, especially in this day and age, to where everybody has to do more with less. But you also have to be able to manage your team. You also have to be able to show up and be very present in your meetings with your peers, and then also in like all hands. And so, Kelli, how do you think about just like getting shit done and managing all of these different balls that are in the air, not only with your like work life, but also your personal life?
Yeah, the ball is in the air. Everyone loves to say that. And everyone loves to say, well, you have to make sure to know which balls are glass and which ball, like, come on. The reality is we got to have all of them in the air. Like, we can't really drop any of them. And in my experience, one, you have to build a great team. We just talked about in our last segment that is trustworthy, transparent, and that you can literally pivot them very quickly. Like, you have to build this team where they are all ninjas and they're all really good and they can all just move. And I don't think a lot of folks spend enough time on that because, they're pulled into 25 different directions at C-team level, then they're pulled into crap at, employee issues, and they don't spend enough time building these kind of, these copy paste, not copy paste, but these army of you, right? That you can move very quickly and get stuff done. The other thing that I talk a lot about with folks is the maximization of meetings and time. Like, I am a total freak about ordering of meetings, how we leverage them to get, 1 + 1 = 3. Most of the work that I did in this job was through meetings. And like, how do I use those, right? Like, I have my people leadership team meeting this afternoon. Then tomorrow I have a C team meeting. How can I like not just go to those meetings and go to the day and blah, blah, blah. How do I think about those meetings strategically and leverage them to get more done in those 3 hours than I could otherwise? And I spend so much time talking to my directs about that because it's amazing what you can do. Example, we might be like, all right, we want to push some RTO work. We're behind or we're pinched, etc. Let's leverage this people leadership team meeting. Let's frame it up for C team the next day. Let's get 2 of you in there with me. 1 for exposure and learning. So now I've got succession planning. I've got people learning how to be a CPO. I've got exposure. Let's get in there and use that strategically to move this ball forward. Between those 2 meetings, if done well and architected well, you can get more done in those 3 hours than potentially screwing around with documents and one-on-ones and policies for 2 weeks. So I don't think folks leverage these meetings enough because they are context switching. It's like, great, how do I parlay and use these things? And maybe we cap it all off with an all hands at the end. Boom. Like, they can be very strategic and they can help you accelerate. And it's also very hard because they come fast. Lots of context switching. You got to be in front of the 8 ball and you got to be strategic, and that takes time and takes a lot of learning. Hey everyone, we'll be right back in a moment after a word from our sponsors. Your workforce is both your organization's greatest strength and largest single cost. With Planful, it's easy to unlock the secrets of successful workforce planning so you and your HR team can make the right business decisions. Imagine using data-driven insights to develop accurate forecasts, close hiring gaps, and adjust talent acquisition plans collaboratively based on costs today and into the future. Planful lets you collaborate with colleagues in finance to understand the value your employees bring to the table. And the best part, you can get started with Planful in just weeks with minimal help from IT. Plus, with Planful, you get an endless runway. Planful grows with you, no matter how fast or large your team scales. Ready to transform your HR strategy? Join over 1,500 organizations worldwide who trust Planful as their go-to workforce planning software at planful.com/heretics. Real talk, most talent leaders haven't yet cracked how to leverage AI for meaningful impact on their hiring processes and business goals.
But the leaders who are effectively using AI to transform their recruiting team's efficiency and quality use Metaview. Metaview is the AI assistant for the interview process. Their AI records and transcribes hiring conversations, like intakes, interviews, and debriefs, then provides perfectly summarized notes of everything that was discussed. That means your people can focus on creating human connections with candidates during calls and save time on the busy work of cleaning up notes after every interview. But it's so much more than just a time saver, because perfect notes means perfect data. For every candidate and every pipeline, hiring teams can make confident, informed decisions, and talent leaders can finally take control of the interview process. Join forward-thinking talent leaders at high-performing organizations like Brex, HelloFresh, and Quora, and check out Metaview. Head over to metaview.ai/heretics to talk to one of Metaview's product experts, or get started for free. You'll be up, running, and AI-enabled in minutes.
My take is context switching is not a real thing. Like, if you want to be a context switcher, you're going to do multiple things not well. And there's a great book called Essentialism, which like really changed my life, about like, you have to focus on one thing at a time, because that's how the human brain works. And so this whole notion of like, you know, being able to juggle things simultaneously, and like you're in a meeting and you're texting and then you're emailing and then you're interacting, like that doesn't exist. You just show up terrible in all of those aspects. So here's my priority list. Number one is me. Like, first thing is like, I have to sleep, I have to work out, and I have to eat well. That generates like my energy level, and that helps me show up in the way that I want to show up. Number two is my family. Like, I have to fill up my cup with spending time with my wife, my kids, my parents, my sister, all of my loved ones. Number three is work, right? We'll get to that in a second. And then basically I have a hard line, and then there's like everything else. And after that hard line, I will be very honest with our audience. I'm not good, because there's just too much shit. And like, I can't do it that well. It's just not going to happen. And I'm okay with that. Let's talk about the work piece for a second. So I love your idea of strategically scheduling meetings. One of the things that I stole from Jeff Bezos is like, I don't like to do meetings before 11. And the reason why is because I can get shit done in the morning, and I focus on like the most important thing that requires like me. Like, if I'm the blocker on it, or I'm the person who owns the thing, that's my time to like get that shit done. Another thing is like, I try not to live out of email anymore. This is still one of those habits I'm trying to break, but like, email and Slack are amazing because like, you know, it's such a great way to communicate with people. The problem is you end up being very reactive, and other people are dictating the course of your day and your week, versus you being the one that dictates the course of your day and week. So one of the things I've done is like, I don't have notifications on my phone except for from my wife. And so like, if I want to go look at Twitter, I don't get notifications for Twitter anymore. I don't get notifications for email. I don't get notifications for Slack on my phone. My phone is basically like, my wife can reach me and then nobody else can, because if I get pulled into that, I know I'm going to spend 10 to 15 minutes in an unproductive fashion. The last thing I'll say that we've been experimenting with on my team right now that's been working amazingly well is, I think a lot of the meetings that we have at work are status updates. And status update meetings, I think, actually are important, but we waste so much time going around the circle, like listening to that person like talk about their thing. So we've replaced the status meeting with looms. And basically what people do is we have a WBR, a weekly business review every week, and we do a loom. And so I can watch that loom on 2x speed. I can pause and zoom in at certain areas of like into the presentation. I ask questions directly on the loom. And so then when we walk into the meeting, it's not what's the status. The meeting is like, let's go answer these questions so we can start getting to work right away. And those are the things that I wish more people would do, especially with meetings waste so much fucking time.
I love,
it is unbelievable.
I love the loom idea. I think that I've noticed with context switching and the meetings is ever since the pandemic, like, you know, more remote, more Zooms, it wastes a lot of time. And so thing I've done to cut down the context switching and have more time to think, get stuff done, and like set things up so you can accelerate work and be strategic is replace meetings with just phone calls. Or
My God, please, yes.
I've I swear the last 4 years of my career, I've dialed more people than the 6 years prior. And it's been incredible. Like you can get so much shit done in a 7-minute chat and a phone call than a 40-minute Zoom with someone. And it's what it's done for me, at least, is created more of that feeling where you get the serendipitous see someone in the hallway type of thing. The other thing that I don't like about the written is just some people just write terribly and context doesn't get through, nuance is missing, right? And it might not even be poorly written, but you're chatting with someone, you get the vibe, you get the context, you get more information, especially to do with people, HR related stuff. It's actually really important. You get that.
Writing takes time. Writing takes
time,
a
man.
And honestly, for big decisions, it makes sense. Like I totally get it. But for everything else, it's just like, man, are we really going to put that time in it?
Yeah,
exactly.
And the other thing I've started using, which is awesome, is the audio text.
Yeah, you do this to me all the time.
Which is kind of like Loom without the video, and it's incredible. It's like, hey,
yeah,
I'm sending this. And then
I love it because it's like, you know, there's two pieces that are really beneficial. Is one, it takes me less time to send the audio text, and two, it takes you less time to listen to it. Right? It's just so much easier to do things
while you're driving. It's very helpful. I'm a talker, so it's helpful. And then of course I'm like, did it send? Did you get it? And then we waste time. Hey, did you get this?
I do want to underscore the just pick up the phone thing.
Oh, it's incredible.
One of the things I love to do is walk and talk, and Zoom does not allow that. Like it like, you know, if you ever tried to like walk with a phone in front of your face, like one, you just look like a clown. And then two, like the other person's like, what, like, why are we doing this? I think there are meetings that really require you to either be in person or be on Zoom.
Yes.
But the majority of them do not. And we've just defaulted to Zoom because that's what everyone's done since the pandemic. And so I think what Kelli and I are saying to our audience is like, be the change, like stop Zooming people when it could just be a phone call. And oh, by the way, like go get outside, like go for a walk. It's amazing the sort of stimulation you get when you're just outside breathing fresh air and talking to another human being.
Yeah, just do that experiment. I've been doing it the last like 2 years. I'm like, hey, do you mind if we chat on the phone? I got to get out. And I swear 80% of the time, oh my God, yes, me too. But no one will actually do it. So just do it and everyone else is going to jump for joy.
Be that change, Kelli.
Be the change.
All right, let us know what you guys think.
All right, thanks all.
HR Heretics is a podcast from Turpentine, the network behind Econ 102, Moment of Zen, and Turpentine VC. Subscribe, 5 stars, share it on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, all the things.